Hey, welcome back to the DawgHouse. This is the racing segment of the show. Why is Durka throwing his hands up? No, I guess we can keep going. He started throwing his hands up. I'm like, oh no, not again. So there was a lot of racing this weekend. The Moto America racing, which will be on in a week or so.
More than it was even really possible to watch.
Yeah, almost.
Almost.
I mean, it would have been nice if it rained here this weekend, so I didn't have to feel bad about being inside to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, there's not only that, there's a lot of racing going on that we couldn't watch because the TV channels, CBS and Fox didn't quite get their stuff straight.
Yeah, had they had the Moto America races on this weekend, and I had 4 Moto America races to watch this weekend in addition to everything else, there's no way I would have got everything in.
Yeah, I would have tried to find time. We're working on trying to find out what happened with all the confusion about all the different places. I probably got 40 different press releases from 40 different websites saying they were showing the Moto America races.
Really?
Oh my God, Torque TV.
I saw 3 different places that were mentioned from Moto America.
Right, 3, and I went to all 3 of them, and I still couldn't find it. Right. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative towards the Moto America because I'm totally not.
It is only week 2 for them, and they'll get all this straightened out.
It was frustrating. I'm hoping it all gets worked out because
it was a surprise to begin with.
It was a surprise to begin with.
We didn't think we were getting any streaming video this weekend.
Right.
Race.
So they kind of jumped in. It was like, all right, we're going to have streaming video, and then their own press release is like, it'll be on Moto America. You go to the Moto America site, and then it's redirecting you to other sites. Yeah. Right. And I was like, oh, what a nightmare.
But I think, cross my fingers, that next week's race is going to be on CBS Sports Live.
Cool.
I think they're not racing next week.
Well, the next race. Excuse me. The next race is going to be on live.
I hope so. And that would be the best thing that ever happened to that series.
Well, is their next race VIR?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's a month off.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Okay. 3 weeks, month, something like that. So that's what I'm hoping. I hope so. So I set my VCR, my VCR, I showed my age, my DVR to tape it.
Your light's still flashing, too.
Yeah, it is. It's like 12. To tape the races. Unfortunately, for some reason, it didn't. So I have it set up to tape them again tomorrow night.
I set my DVR to record Moto2 because I got to watch everything but Moto2. And
we have the package.
Yeah, I know, but it was easier to do because I was out in and out. So I just set the DVR to record Moto2 because I already got it set to record everything else. And then when I played it back, it was MLS soccer game. So
that's definitely not Moto2.
No. I kept expecting to see some bikes run across the field, but they never did.
They should have. So we're not really going to spend a lot of time talking about what happened at Road Atlanta this week because we really haven't seen it. And while websites like Road Racing World and Cycle World and some of these other guys did do a great job about writing about them and stuff like that, I want to form my opinions when I watch the race.
I did watch the Dakota race.
I have that set to watch tomorrow night. I mean, if you want to talk about it.
Oh, it was pretty good racing. I'll just get the highlights. It was very wet. A lot of guys wrecked because of the water. And it was kind of interesting to watch some of the riders like Bobby Fong hydroplane over the asphalt and through the grass into the mud across the gravel.
You have to get his name right. It's Bobby, I'm not Japanese Fong.
Yeah, Bobby the non-Asian Fong. Bobby not Fong the non-Asian. Is what I always call.
So there was a bunch of those guys hydroplaning as they left their bikes, and it was, you look at them and go, oh, crap, and then you realize they're just sliding on the water, so they all got up and walked away.
Yeah, they're pretty tough guys.
And they're
just
3/4-inch leathers.
But yeah, and they're thick. Those leathers are thick. I don't ever remember seeing Ken in this.
They're not 3/4 of an inch.
They got to be like this thick.
No, they're not. They're not.
Keep going.
That's 3/4 of it, ladies.
They'd be walking around like this.
For those of you watching the video, ladies, to me that's 3/4 of an inch.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure.
To you, that's probably 12 inches.
Yeah, boy. So yeah, I don't understand how that can be 3/4 of an inch and that's 9 inches. Yeah, just doesn't make no sense to me. So there was a lot of other racing going on besides that, and we will talk about that, I guess, in a week or so when we all get to watch it. I will find a way to take it from my DVR to something Ken can watch on, even if I have to put my little video camera up in front of my TV, nubbin style.
I'm sure we'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out. So there was Supercross in Santa Clara, or Santa Clara. I prefer Santa, like the Christmas guy.
I think Santa's correct.
I believe so.
Yes.
But there was Supercross there, the 250 West. Cooper Webb has, he wrapped up the championship last week, so it was, he had nothing to race for, but he didn't act like it.
No, he didn't act like it, and he put on, I think, in my opinion, the most impressive performance of the season of any rider.
Of any rider, and by far his best performance of the season, but definitely
I think the best performance of anybody in either the 250s or the 450s. He was involved in a massive crash in the beginning of the race.
That was a pile-up.
And he wasn't.
That looked like a scene from Chips.
Yeah, I know. He wasn't the only guy that had a hell of a comeback from that. McElrath had a great comeback from that.
Plessinger, I think, was involved in that.
Yes, but
Pachelia, who came in 8th, but a lot of these guys.
But Webb proved that, and we always talk about how important the whole shot is. Well, he just proved that with certain riders, maybe it's not that important.
Well, I think that also goes back to what we were talking about last week, that the depth of field in the West is not as much as it was in the past.
I think there's some truth to that. At least this season, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But I think that just Webb is so dominant. It was an amazing performance. I think at one point he was in 12th.
Yeah, I think so.
And he came back and just dominated. He just dusted off everybody else in that race and just said that I'm better than you guys.
Yeah.
Which there's no doubt. I look at that and we're going to.
There's no doubt he was better than those guys.
Right, and there's no doubt he's going to be a favorite in 450s next year. I think. Don't you think?
I'd be shocked if he doesn't get the nod to go up. And I'm going to say,
I think both him and Musquin will get the nod. To go
and
up.
I'm going to say, I think in the All-Star race in Las Vegas in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can pick against Webb in that now.
Oh, what a switch! Last week he was.
I know.
Last week was Musquin's going to stomp a mud hole in him and walk it dry.
Because I was waiting for that kind of performance out of somebody. And we hadn't seen it.
Yeah, but Musquin has one advantage, okay? Webb's not had to deal with the fact that Dungey is going to be racing after Musquin.
Yeah, that's true. Webb has never done the KTM double.
Exactly.
He might be because
he ain't on a KTM.
Well,
that's right. He might not be able to handle
and
that.
I also think it's also Webb doesn't have to race against a lot of the other, like Martin in the East and Bogle in the East.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be racing against some higher quality guys as well.
Yeah, so I agree. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to Las Vegas. So that was the last time we got to see the West boys in the 250s until Las Vegas. Next week is New Jersey, and the 250 East guys will be wrapping up their season. So that should be a good showdown. I don't see, unless Bogle doesn't show up. Musquin doesn't show up. I don't see how things can go any other way.
He doesn't have anything to, it's kind of the way we all thought about Webb going into this race.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything to accomplish in the race. So if he had come in fifth and we had said, he was being smart, didn't want to injure himself going into the final race, in Las Vegas. So I don't think you can predict that whether Musquin's going to run hard.
Well, he doesn't have the championship locked up.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah, he does.
It's done. It's already done.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done. So he doesn't really have anything to race for. So maybe he'll be like a Cooper Webb, who was
just
willing to lay on the line. Who already had the championship in there and just wanted to see.
See, if I had won the championship and I only had one race left, I would do that thing like I was those 6-year-olds. I'd do it between the breaks. I'd roll over, eat, chill. The race would be finished, and I'd be finishing my first lap, and I'd be like, "Yeah."
You'd be getting the blue flag all over.
Oh yeah,
I'd be riding around the track, sipping on a drink.
I'd be pulling off outside the tough blocks, high fiving people in the stands, coming back. I would just be so happy. But
that's why
I'm not a pro.
That's right. Yes.
Well, actually, that and I'm fat, not fast.
Yes.
I'm too fat. I'm old. There's a whole lot of reasons I ain't a pro, and that's
you could
just one of them.
You could call yourself a whoop section.
Wow, that was cold. So let's go to the 450s.
And Cooper Webb just hit the fill section.
Let's go to the 450s before this gets too personal. In which, during the qualifiers, and I know, Ken, you don't really watch the qualifiers.
I absolutely do not watch them.
So
I used to, but I've stopped.
I did this week.
Okay.
I did. And during the qualifiers, they started showing some stuff from practice and stuff, and apparently Dungey and Pike have not been getting along too good.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
So they kind of were being a little rough on each other.
Uh-huh.
Which I'm okay with a little rough riding.
Sure.
I mean, who am I to judge? And that carried all the way through into the 450 main.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of banged on each other a little bit, and Dungey also another guy with nothing to prove. Went out there and proved something.
He said, "The heck with this," and
right.
took off.
Yeah, he had some stuff to prove, and it was a lot of tough racing. For guys like Tomac, Pike finished on the podium, which was a nice surprise. Especially this is a kid who 2 years ago we were talking about didn't even have sponsorship.
Right.
So they had a couple things. Big news that came out this week, just before the race was happened. Announcement came out, I believe, on Thursday of last week. Might have been Wednesday night. Davey Millsaps got cut by Kawasaki.
Yeah.
And I kind of been expecting that.
I was still surprised.
I was too.
I'm surprised they made that announcement during the season.
I'm right.
Yeah.
I could see them saying at the end of the year.
Yes.
But they cut him and he didn't race. Now.
Yeah. It was.
And it looked bitter.
Yeah.
When you saw him.
Well, yeah, and then you read a statement. Is I have met all my contractual agreements.
Yeah,
I have kept up my end of the bargain. He said a lot of things like that.
Yeah,
he said a lot of things like we're going to have a guy in a dress deciding how much more money I get.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Judge Warren. Judge.
I got it.
Wasn't
funny, but I got it.
So I don't want to say I was surprised. I was surprised with 2 races to go. Why would you do that?
Right. I mean, there were some ill feelings involved
here. Yeah, there's some bitterness.
Yeah.
Probably that bike won 4 championships in a row.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And now it can't win a heat race.
Right. Yeah.
And it is a business and stuff, and I don't have any ill will towards Davey Millsaps. To be honest with you, I was shocked he got that ride. That is not who I would have put on.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think he was the best rider for that bike.
I don't think whoever they put on there, other than it was going to beat the KTM this year. That bike it was running away from everybody.
You know what? I'll tell you, I disagree with that because I think had he been healthy and moved up, I think seeing Sorolla would have been somebody to deal with.
Perhaps.
I mean, that kid's he's fast.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Last week is the woulda, coulda, because, I made the comment about some of the guys being out that were chasing Dungey. You still have Trey Kennard in 5th place in the points, and he hasn't ridden for 3 weeks now.
Right. Well, I think you're absolutely right. To say what people could or couldn't do on a different bike other than the KTM isn't fair when you consider that some of the best competition out there is not even racing right now.
That's true.
You don't have Roxon out there. You don't have Kennard out there. Tomac's been, in and out of injuries most of this season. So, I don't.
But when the KTM has been, when they have been running, the KTM has been outrunning all the other bikes.
Yeah, but you can't say that. You can't say that about Roxon. I mean, Roxon didn't. Well, we're talking about 2 races for Roxon.
Yeah,
so
he did
early.
Well.
I went back and looked because we had brought that up a little bit last week. Even when Roxon was healthy, Dungey was having a better season. He'd be win 8th, win 20th,
right.
or 16th or whatever.
I don't think there's any question that there was a renewed Ryan Dungey this season. I think we all know that.
Now, somebody else who I think might be in trouble this year, ride-wise, might be Barsha.
Yeah, he's been a big disappointment.
He's been a huge disappointment.
And what's he riding up for? I can't.
He rides a Yamaha.
Okay.
Right. He kind of rolls around on one. He's been a huge disappointment, and I think they said it best, and that's the same thing I noticed too, especially the last few races. Is top half of the race he's in there. Mm-hmm. He fades quick.
Right.
That to me is the same problem Pike had. Man, get your ass in the gym. Get on the bike. Not that I know anything about that stuff, but that's kind of what I'm saying. So the East, the 450 boys are going to come east. They're going to run out the Meadowlands in New Jersey. They'll romp through the swamp next weekend, and they will go to. From there, they'll go to the All-Star race for Vegas, and then we go outdoors.
Yep.
So we'll have our power rankings probably.
Well, they get a break. Then they get a break.
Yeah, they get a 2-week break.
Yep.
Unlike the DawgHouse, they get rest.
Yep.
We'll have hopefully if the video stuff works out better after this show, we'll have our power rankings up this week sometime too. which would be good to see, where everybody falls in our votes and some of our invited guests into that. And we'll be back after this break, and we're going to talk a little bit of World Superbike.
This is Lorenzo Alexander of the Arizona Cardinals, and you're listening to NTNRadio.com.
And we're back here on NTNRadio.com. We're going to talk a little bit of World Superbike.
And they talk a lot of World Superbike, perhaps.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm going to talk World Superbike as long as the EBR return lasts.
Yeah, right.
The note we're going to do first off, and that was not really nice because they I got nothing wrong against Buell. But EBR announced that they're bankrupt.
Well, I didn't think they actually announced they're bankrupt.
No, receivership.
Yeah, what they did was they filed for receivership, which means what they're doing is they're up for sale, and they're going to let the bankruptcy court sell them.
Oh, wait. You know what? Buell, there's a great way to make money, and you've done this before. Sell it to Harley for $20 million and buy it back in 2 years for $1.
Well, yeah, or nothing.
Or nothing.
Yeah,
have it handed back.
You know who I think would be the best candidate for Buell?
Modus? Then they at least have a bike in production. The Modus
Polaris.
Buell. Ooh.
I think Polaris would be a great buy for them. They don't really have a sport
I
bike.
think Polaris has got their hands full right now.
Well, they do. They've got a lot of other stuff going on, but
that's not a bad idea, though.
Well, just because they have deep pockets, but
they got deep pockets, and
Buell would be a great investment for Harley Davidson.
That is the Eric Buell retirement fund plan. So, but yeah, unfortunately, they have announced receivership.
It's effectively bankruptcy.
Yeah, effectively bankruptcy.
But it just means that the idea is that rather than have the company be broke up to pay the creditors, to have somebody come in and buy the company and then
work a deal,
right, to pay the creditors off, right.
So I was a little surprised after reading that, because that came out before the round started.
Yeah.
That the EBR teams were still there at the World Superbike in Austin.
I was very surprised to see them there.
I was too.
It didn't make any sense, did it?
No, it didn't.
Like, who's gonna? If you were somebody, wouldn't you be worried if you were a hotel where the team was staying at, you were going to get paid when the team?
Well, I figured that's probably all a little prepaid. I was just surprised. I was just kind of surprised that the teams weren't looking for other options.
Don't you think that must have been a little uncomfortable for Larry Pegram and Nicola Canepa?
I mean, that's why he parked the bike.
Yeah, imagine how that's got to be kind of uncomfortable, because you like walking around, everybody's giving you the pity look. Oh, look away! There's Larry
Pegram, or they're giving them or it's probably the most he's been interviewed in a while.
Well, I don't think he had much to say. That's the thing.
I know. I mean, right, and that's even more awkward.
He probably knew nothing more than any of us did.
He's probably thinking this goes. This just figures. I get I get my own World Superbike team funded by EBR, and what happens?
All I got was this lousy T-shirt.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
But reading between some of the lines of what Eric put on his different posts and the interviews that I saw, I got the impression he was expecting more cashola out of Hero than they actually got.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I got too. I think that they had to do like a quarterly funding thing, and they'd come back, because I think Hero owned 49.8% or something like that of the company, something like that. And I guess each quarter they'd come in and say, this is what our funding expectations are. And I guess they've always gotten the money they needed out of Hero. And I guess at some point Hero said, well, this really isn't paying off all that well. Why don't we just pick up our toys and run? We already got all your technology, right?
Yeah.
We'll let you go into bankruptcy, and then we'll scoop up all your patents. That might be unfair to claim that Hero's doing that, but it wouldn't surprise me either.
Wouldn't surprise me. It kind of sounds like what, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And maybe what we'll see is, as sad as this might sound, we may see Larry Pegram racing in a Hero. Or he might be on the same bike, and it might just say Hero on it, right?
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
Or maybe Motus will buy it out.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be the Motus.
No, that's the death knell.
Oh, you're right. So, anyways, they were in Assen. I did watch the Super Sport race. I don't know if you guys did.
I did.
No.
I did, because I was very upset watching it.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I mean, it was a good race. Don't get me wrong. And enjoy. I enjoyed the battle, at the top between Sofaglu and Cluzel. That I enjoyed that and everything. But I'm like you, Phil. I'm in there and I'm rooting. I want PJ Jacobson to get up there and win that race. And unfortunately,
he's just off a little.
Well, and I thought he was going to get. I pretty much thought he was going to end up with the podium, and then at the last minute, that I can't even think of his name. Smith, comes up.
Kevin Smith, I think.
Yeah, which I don't think has been anywhere near as high up in the races as PJ's been, and it was like PJ didn't have anything for him. But again, it's that track. I think a lot of it's that track. So
yeah, Assen is for some reason the Brits seem to do well there.
Yeah,
and the guy that caught him was a Brit. So
right.
I
think the Brits are doing well everywhere.
Yeah, they did have a little hiccup this week, though, in Superbike.
Oh, a little hiccup.
They didn't claim all 3 podium spots, all 3 races.
That's right, yeah.
Both races. So
right.
That, to me, that's a hiccup. That's a huge hiccup.
Yeah.
Is there anything to say other than Rhea besides he's for real?
I think we already knew he was for real, but the thing about Rhea is that he went into the race with a disadvantage. I don't know if that was in race 2, but in race 1 he did, in which he had a softer compound tire,
right?
And which was the non-recommended compound for the track, and everybody was expecting it was going to go away from the end. And I really thought when the race was about half over that Davies was going to end up winning at the end.
He was charging hard,
but he couldn't get past.
Nowhere near as hard as Vandermark.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would agree.
And that's the home track for Vandermark.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't read a lot into that.
No,
I mean, he's been doing well.
Yeah, it's 2 podiums for Vandermark is a hometown advantage.
Right.
His track, knows how to
track.
race the track. He's in front of his crowd. His adrenaline levels are off the charts, and he was racing beyond his ability. I mean, Vandermark's a hell of a rider. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's not. But let's put it this way.
He had all the advantages.
No, he's on it. He's on at best a mediocre bike.
Right.
I mean, that Pata Honda is a mediocre bike.
Right. That Pata Honda's eighth place.
Ask Johnny Rea. Johnny Rea worked damn hard for the little success that he did have on that Pata Honda, and wasn't a lot. He would tell you that. More than some people expected, but that's how talented a rider he is. And I think that Johnny Rea made our news in the past because of what he was able to do on that Pata Honda.
Not because he was winning.
Right. And Vandermark is, I think, he gets credit, but you got to remember it's his home track. So it would have been like a Donington Park win for Rhea.
Right.
You'd say, yeah, well, everybody gets up for their home races.
Right.
But
except the Americans.
But the guy that Ken likes the least did pretty well this weekend as well.
Davies? Yeah. Davies had a pair of seconds.
Actually, he isn't the guy I like the least, but it's okay. He's on.
He's on his list.
He's on the list. He's on the list.
He definitely
He's too
is on
tall
the list.
on Ken's list.
He is too tall. There's no question about that. I think he'd tell you that himself. He's too tall.
He probably would.
Right,
He'd probably tell you that. So I mean, they were not. Rhea and Davies were out there, and I've been trying to figure out since the beginning of the season who's a little bit better. Is it Rhea? Is it Haslam? I mean, not Rhea. I mean, is it Davies or Haslam?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think Davies on the Ducati is a really good fit, and he might be better than Haslam on the Aprilia.
I think it's pretty even myself.
I would actually tend to give Haslam the advantage only because I think in the long run over the course of the season and on the different tracks, the Aprilia is a better bike than that Ducati, than the Panigale.
Yeah.
I think Davies earns what he gets, and but I would say that this track here, going into this weekend, Haslam said they had very low expectations in Assen with the Aprilia. It's just not a good. That track doesn't suit the abilities of the long legs that the Aprilia has.
Right.
But it definitely suited the Ducati.
Nice.
Ducati was fast out of the turns.
Yep.
Davies was probably carrying a lot more speed than most people could on that bike into the turns. But ultimately it wasn't enough to beat Johnny Rea, who is right now he's just a phenom. I think on that bike he is so much better on that bike, I think, than he was on the Honda.
Yeah, and
and right now he's just a tick, and that's all you need to be. He's a tick better than anybody else out there.
I think the only person that's going to beat him right now is himself. If he makes a mistake,
he's pulling away. He's pulling away in the championship.
Sykes ran him hard and led some
for a while, but
he's eating the tires up, which says to me he's not used to that bike. He hasn't made all the adjustments to that bike yet.
He's still a ways. Look, I tell you, watching race one for a good part of race one, I thought, oh wow, man, I feel really stupid I didn't pick Sykes. Because I knew that, there's going to be a weekend where Sykes, everything's going to fall in line. He's going to get to the point where he's comfortable on that bike and everything's going to work out. I mean, he got the podium. I mean, he got the pole.
The pole, yeah.
Right, which is that you would say that was a big thing for
and it is.
Well, for him, it's a real big thing because he was the guy that took all the poles in prior years. Okay, pretty much all of them. I mean, he broke all kinds of records for a number of poles and things like that. In prior years, and this year is nothing. So by the time when I saw that he had gotten the pole, I thought, wow, he's finally things are coming together for him. And then halfway through that race, I was thinking the same thing, and then it all went away.
Yeah, it just all went. It was like his tires just went bye-bye.
Went away,
and he was gone
way too early in the race. And yet his teammate, I didn't seem like he was racing less hard. Ray was chasing him hard for a good period of the race.
Right. And when he got out front, he had to race hard to stay out front.
I don't know. There could be just enough differences in setup between the two bikes that Sykes is having a hard time in preserving tires.
I agree.
And it may be late in the races. He's got no tires left.
I agree. So So I mean, pretty much the races were almost identical. Down you had to get
Pretty
to
close.
You had to get to about 8th place. I think 7th and 8th place. Forays and Guintoli swapped in the second race.
That was about it.
I thought the second race was a lot closer at the end than the first race. I mean, I thought there might have been a chance for Davies to slip through and win that in like the last 2 laps, but
I think you're right. I think overall
first race,
Davies was more threat. He was more threatening in the second
more
race.
threat in the second race.
Yeah.
But I don't think
It would've been
anybody
close in the first.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody. I mean, the racing going on, and most of the racing that I saw going on in race 2 was between Vandermark and Haslam.
Yeah.
That was pretty much most of the racing.
Yeah, and again, Sykes started out strong and kind of faded.
Yeah, same thing. He started very strong and faded, but he faded quicker in race 2.
He faded quicker in race 2.
Right.
So, I mean, World Superbike was not, it was, like I said, the top 6 spots, I think, were identical both races.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but it's one of those races where you could have just watched the last 3 laps of that race.
You could have.
There wasn't all that much going on.
I don't think you could. I don't think the last 3 laps was even good for the first race because I mean Ray. I got the sense that Ray was going to win that race almost from the second lap on. And he might have been behind, but he was definitely moving better.
Sykes held the lead for quite a while. Actually.
Yeah, and Sykes is hard to pass.
I didn't get the impression that Ray was.
He didn't seem panicked. I will agree. He didn't seem like, oh my God, I'm in second place.
No, I think his confidence levels are so high right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he knows it's his championship to lose.
Yeah. So, and we'll see. I'm going to save the pool talk to the end of the show because it was a double weekend with the MotoGP and the World Superbike. So we'll save the pool results for the end.
I don't think I did out well this week.
A lot of people didn't do well this week, and the middle of the pool tightened. The whole pool tightened up in general, with a couple exceptions.
Okay.
No, actually, Ken,
I did do better.
You gained on everybody. I think the top 5 spots above you gained a lot of points on.
Right.
Like 20 or 30 on average.
Yeah.
And you even gained on the leaders.
Fortunately, everybody picks Marquez, so we'll talk about what happened.
2 people didn't.
I know, which is surprising.
Which is shocking.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in a few minutes to talk some MotoGP and our pool.
Josh Hayes, Team Graves Yamaha, and you're listening to the DawgHouse.
And we're back here on the DawgHouse on ntnradio.com. I forgot to mention a little bit other World Superbike news, because I believe Troy Bayliss was a World Superbike champion, correct? On a Ducati?
He was a World Superbike champion. That is correct. And he was actually a World Superbike racer not that long ago.
I know. And you know what he's going to be racing this year? AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Championship Series.
I think that's great news.
He's going to run the mile dirt tracks.
He's racing on his older brother Skip's team, right?
I don't know why that keeps happening to me. But he's going to run the 5 1-mile tracks.
Good for him.
So it should be kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool. The announcement came out of Australia.
Is he becoming like a publicity hound or something? Because he disappeared. He's
like, I'm done with racing.
He came back to racing this year, and now he's in World Superbike, and now he's going to be racing in flat track. So
well, he does have the Troy Bayliss Classic in Australia, the flat track race.
Yeah, it's in Australia.
So he's raced against a couple of the guys.
Yeah, but that's what Australia. That's the place where they listen to that weird music.
They do listen to weird music there.
So we'll see. If he's really a publicity hound, he'll be on the X Games. So you'll see.
No, that is not listed.
Troy Bayliss is like 65 years old,
probably, or 90.
Or 90.
No, it looks like he's probably 50.
No, he's not. He's younger.
He's younger than you.
He's younger. He's younger than you too, by the way. I think.
Is he really?
Yeah,
Screw this guy. I don't like him no more.
I think he's like 39 or 40.
Oh, what the hell? That's wrong. So, anyways, I just figured I'd mention that. I'm gonna root against him, obviously, because he's not American. But I think that's cool.
Right.
I know a bunch of the Grand National guys went down and raced in his Skip Bayless Classic. So.
Skip Bayless Classic.
Yeah,
did it again.
Why do you keep putting that in my head? Troy Bayless Classic.
I told you he was going to do it.
Wow.
Yes.
Anyways, so I have a new rule proposal for MotoGP to take up.
Okay.
If you win more than one Moto3 race by more than a second,
right,
you should be banned for the rest of the season. Danny Kent got to go because he's ruining Moto3.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Nobody's managed to win a race by more than a second.
Spots 2 through 10 finished within a second, and 3/100ths of a second later was 11th.
And Danny Kemp checked out.
Yeah,
and it's 2 races in a row he's done this.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if you win by more than a second, you should be...
You get automatic promotion to Moto2.
Or SAT.
Right.
No.
Yes.
The big Dikembe Mutombo, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
That not happen here.
No.
So that kind of ruined that race for me. And I really normally enjoy watching Moto3 because the last 4 turns is 72 passes for the lead.
Exactly. But it's just been these last 2 races this has happened.
Or he shouldn't be allowed to come into the Western Hemisphere.
Okay.
Right? And just say no.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my thoughts. And then I don't even want to talk about it. I was so aggravated about it. But Moto2. And they were in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of surprises in Moto2, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, what surprised you?
Rabat did so well.
He didn't do that well.
He came in 4th.
Okay.
For him, that's like almost winning this year.
That's pretty much where he's been, though. He's had a number of... That's kind of where he is. The problem, he's getting used to that almost on the podium position.
He kind of is.
Yeah.
And
he's not living up to his last year's...
Oh, he's basically not... He's not a threat for the championship at this rate.
No.
Yeah. There will be no double. There will be no 2 in a row.
It doesn't appear that way. I mean, it would take a lot of things... Because right now, Lowe's and Zarco are racking up points.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. And Rins
is doing well.
Is a surprise too.
Rins, I think, has got to be the big surprise. I don't think so, because Rins was a hell of a rider in Moto3.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's been expecting a lot from Rins here. I think, Rins, is he still ahead of the championship, or is Zarco now leading? I can't remember.
I don't remember. No, I got it.
Rins was leading the championship going into it without you don't need to win. You don't need to win.
Right, you don't need to win.
But he was scoring points. So I don't know. Rins is. I think everybody's pretty happy. There are a couple of people in there that are really impressing me out there. Morbidelli's really impressive. I think.
Yeah.
I think the cream of the crop is actually, rising. Right
Zarco
now.
pulled the lead by 4 points.
Yeah.
I think Mortabelli's doing pretty well because, and we'll talk about our power rankings later. I've actually put him above Rabat.
Yeah, I mean, well, we won't talk power rankings right now, but I don't think I have Rabat in my power rankings.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that kind of punted on Rabat.
Yes.
Folger had a decent race. Considering he's been dropped back and stuff and came back up. Nakagami, who 2 years ago was Mr. Second Place.
Who is he?
Nakagami?
I don't know who Nakagami is. He's disappeared completely off the radar.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I'm
Yes.
saying that right? Don't screw with me, Ken. He's pretty much just fallen off the face of the planet.
Yes.
And I'm kind of surprised by that.
He's never been the same after he got penalized for that technical error they had. Never been the same.
Yep, you're
it's
right.
like without that different gas tank on there or whatever, he can't make it. They can't make them
without
think
that
fast.
extra 12 gallons of gas or whatever he added
Whatever,
there.
yeah.
It's like, hey, who knew that made you fast? I was kind of, that's a little bit of a disappointment, but all in all, I enjoyed the race. I thought it was a pretty good race. There was some.
It was a great race. It was probably, I think, Zarco's best race yet. He got the lead. He managed the lead. He didn't dominate. He didn't pull way away, but he managed the lead really, really well throughout the race. And he did what he needed to do. He raced, I think, probably his smartest race in his career.
Yeah.
He didn't burn his tires up. He didn't leave the cloud of dust in there, but I think it's tougher to do with having Lowe's chasing you around. He did a real good job, and I think, I think we've it's kind of shown that the interesting battle this year is going to be Lowe's and Zarco against each other. Rabat's not really the third player that we had in the very beginning of the season. We thought he was going to be.
I think Renz is going to be in there as well.
Yeah, but I think I think his bike's a notch below Zarco and Lowe's.
But he's squeezing a lot out of it.
Oh, I agree that he is, and I think he's very, very impressive. I could say the same thing of Morbidelli too, but I think that it appears just watching the racing that the cream of the crop is Zarco and Lowe's this season.
Yeah,
unless something changes. I mean, Lowe's performance at the last stop was the most impressive. The guy had wrecked like 3 times. He was all injured and went out and won the race.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Zarco had mechanical problems. He's had mechanical problems. Otherwise, he'd be you realize Zarco would be way ahead in the championship if it wasn't for the mechanical problems he had when they were in Qatar.
Yeah. Right. You're right. What did he score? Like 8 points? He was like 8.
I don't know.
Yeah, so he would be
whatever his points were. It was a lot less because he was on line to win that race.
Yep. But then again, he wouldn't be. It's hard to say he'd be that far out because Lowe's wrecked in Qatar too. So.
Well, that would have even helped him more.
Right, but right.
If he didn't have mechanical problems, Lowe's got no
and if
points
the frog's legs were longer, his ass would have hit the ground every time he jumped.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah, I did. Anyways, that's it was a good race. It was.
You guys don't mention, and I'm actually surprised that people don't mention, is Xavier Simeon, who I think is having a very, very impressive season for him, which I think he shows that he's going to be someone in the future. It seems like he doesn't get a lot of respect here in the DawgHouse.
He doesn't.
Yeah, and he should.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, he is. I mean, let's put it this way: a lot of other press seems to agree that Javier Simeon is showing that he's going to be a very, very competitive racer for years to come.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know him from last year, what he did or anything. Because again, you guys know, I wasn't following racing so much last year, but I haven't really, I ain't seen much out of him this year.
He's got the second place in the first race where half the guys who were leading crashed out.
Or mechanical.
Then he crashed out at Coda,
right.
And then he didn't score no points this week.
Right. Well, what happened this week?
I don't know. Maybe he forgot to show up.
No,
he didn't eat his Wheaties.
He got caught up with it. He got caught up with another rider.
Right.
And so, but just. Okay, so I won't have to say I told you so. You watch. I will bet you Xavier Simeon will have at least 2 podiums for the season's over with.
Well, I mean, he's got one already, so that's not that big of a stretch.
Going forward, I'm saying.
From here,
so
3. I'm not going to overly disagree with that. I'm just...
Yeah, there could be some more crashes and more mechanical.
To me, I don't care. I don't care how good you look riding around sometimes if you get a consistency of not scoring points in races.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what you're going to see from him.
I hope not.
Okay, I don't think that's what you're going to see.
I really hope not.
I think he's too talented, but I mean, you're going to have occasionally you're going to have some bad luck.
Yeah,
you are going to get caught up with riders who do stupid things.
Sometimes bad luck lasts a career.
It could. We'll see. Yeah, Trey Kennard.
Yeah,
right,
so that could happen. And then
Skip Bayless happened to him too.
Skip Bayless had a bitch of a time.
Yeah.
You know what? I hate you. I just hate the both of you right now. And then there was the big boys, the main event.
Yeah.
And
tires, all about the tires.
It's and stupidity, in my opinion. Tires and stupidity.
Crafty veterans. I don't know.
Crafty veterans and racers who think they know more than the tire manufacturers.
Yeah, that's kind of where I kind of sit there on that.
Yeah, the other person that I was.
No, we have to. The reason we're talking about the tires is that the Argentina track is so abrasive that
they had a special tire created for it.
Bridgestone. Yes, Bridgestone had to make special tires, super hard, extra hard tires to run on the track.
But they didn't have to.
They just did.
They did because they had serious signs of blistering, and they were worried about tires decompensating during the race. So they came out with which
could be dangerous.
Which could be dangerous.
Allegedly.
Yeah, and so they came up with an extra hard compound tire, and they came up with a hard and a medium front. Well, there was a medium hard, and extra hard rear, and a medium hard front.
Hard front, yeah.
And they said their recommendation was
go hard. Go hard and go home.
Go extra hard on the rear. Go extra hard on the rear.
We're going to need to isolate that.
That's right, yes.
Go extra hard on the rear.
And
those who did.
and those who did well.
Did well. So that race started
those who didn't got run down.
And then tried to take other people out.
Yeah, right.
To me, I was like, they're like, that's under review. We should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So the race took off, and, Rossi fell back and way back. I mean, it looked like Coda of last year, where it was like, Rossi, no, the goal's to finish in the front of the other bikes.
Right, and it was totally reversed. Lorenzo was ahead.
Yeah, so you knew you were like drunk.
This is Bizarro world. We know that, right?
You're like, wow, I didn't realize that orange juice had vodka left in it from last night when I was watching in the morning.
Right, and but the
Ducatis went out there, and Crutchlow.
Yes, but Iannone was leading, was ahead of Dovizioso, so everything was kind of backwards.
Crutchlow was up in the mix.
Yeah, well, Crutchlow had finished in the mix.
Yeah, I know, and you were just sitting there, and you're like, all right, something's wrong.
But things tended to right themselves as the race went on because Iannone drifted back and Dovizioso went up to challenge Marquez, and Rossi was in the back, but he was charging through the field. A hell of a charge, I think.
Best charge we've seen in MotoGP this year.
And Jorge Lorenzo did what Jorge Lorenzo seems to do these years. He drifted
moved over
back
and let the people charging go.
That's right.
He was like, "Oh, you're going fast."
I don't know what's wrong with Jorge Lorenzo. I don't know what's wrong with him. Something is not right. I think he's busted his give a damn.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah, I think that he knew this was a season he had to do something well. When it didn't work out for him in the first place, he's like quit. Like I told you before, he's a quitter. We've seen him quit
before.
Yeah.
And he might have that. And you know what? That might be the beginning of the end for him when he quit last year.
So. It could be.
At the end of the season.
Could be. I don't think he's been the same. Yeah, I don't think he's been the same for 2 seasons. But
yeah.
So he drifted back, and Rossi made a hell of a climb through the ranks, but it still looked like that. I thought Marquez was going to be okay.
He had almost 4.5 seconds. It was over 4 seconds.
It was over 4 seconds. I think it was close to 4.5. No,
I think it was almost 5 at one point.
Yeah, he was way out there, and Rossi caught up with Dovizioso, and I thought, okay, Rossi's going to get a second. Hey, that's not bad.
Right.
Especially how far he went down.
And that's all you thought he was going to get.
Right. And, and I still think the Honda's a better bike than the Yamaha.
I don't think there's any question that it is.
And I was kind of...
But apparently it isn't without rear tires.
No, well, apparently tires are important.
Yeah.
So and the Ducati did a lot better on a track with not so big a straightaways than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, and when Rossi caught up with Dovizioso.
I don't think Ducati's advantage is great on the straightaways as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think they're doing better on the twisties than we expected.
we thought they would be.
And they're not doing quite as great on the straightaways, but I think overall the package is a competitive package. That's clear.
Yes,
they've proven that it's a competitive package. And, Marquez's tires started to go away, and Rossi was charging through the field. And when he got past Dovizioso, he was carrying as much as a second faster lap times.
I was watching. I'm rubbing my eyes. I'm like, no, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Marquez's tires really faded. Big time.
They didn't just fade. He chose the wrong tire.
Right, and the worst thing is, hey, you changed it on the grid. You had the extra hard,
right? And
you changed it on the grid.
Yeah. Well, he raced. He in qualifying. He ran all the tires.
Yeah.
He ran all the different variations of the tires, which is rare that you do all of them.
Yeah.
And and I think he felt more comfortable on the hard. But the problem is qualifying isn't 20-some laps. Right? And
24? I mean, that's a long race.
The problem is that with the qualifying, especially when you put on 3 tires, you're probably not putting on more than 6 laps per tire.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe 8 at a stretch. That ain't 20-some laps.
Yeah.
So,
but he was
and Rossi had said all weekend.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't comfortable. He actually spent some time on his rear end, actually.
Rossi said all weekend from day one, I'm going the extra hard.
Yeah, he did.
It's out there, I'm going the extra hard.
I'll bet when they changed over to the hard option on the grid, a lot of the other racers were glad. They figured that gave him a chance against Marquez. Yeah. I honestly think if Marquez had the extra hard on there, he wins that race handily.
He would have kept the 4-second lead.
He would have kept the lead that he got.
He probably wouldn't.
I think he would have kept the lead.
Yeah, right. I don't think Rossi would have caught him.
If I told you,
because he would have battled through and charged through, and he wouldn't have fell back as far as Rossi.
If Marquez had the same tires as Rossi had on his bike,
Rossi wouldn't have caught him.
He wouldn't have caught him.
Yeah.
So he wins that race. Yeah. Instead of winning the race, he ends up getting zippy.
Zippy because he ran into Rossi.
Yeah, and it was under investigation to see whether
because it was an accident.
Yeah, it was under investigation because Rossi came out some and clipped Marquez tried to first pass on the inside, and that didn't work. And then he tried to go towards the outside. Rossi was drifting out as he did that, and Rossi clipped his rear, Marquez's front tire, and there was under investigation. But it was clear to me.
Marquez ran into the tire.
Whether he did or didn't doesn't really matter. I don't care if Rossi came out. Rossi has the right to
racing.
When you're in the front, you own the line.
Yep.
It's your line. Anybody comes into your racing line, that's their problem.
Yep.
There's no, it'd be different if Rossi put his foot out and pushed over.
I would have cheered. I'd have been like,
I didn't think there was any question that what Rossi did was perfectly legitimate. He was protecting his line, and you're allowed to protect your line. Well, it's your line.
I thought he was protecting it a little too much when he pulled out the cat of nine tails and started smacking.
That's a little bit different. But in any case, wow, what do you got to say?
Rossi wants his 10th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why Marquez threw this race away, in my opinion.
It's not like he hasn't done that before.
He threw it away on the grid. He
But I mean, he threw away a race in Australia. He threw away.
This was just a bad decision. This was a Sam Lowe's team bad decision.
Yeah.
You remember a few weeks back, Sam Lowe's team put the wrong tire on.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a Marc Marquez. I want this different tire.
Here's the thing, is the way they reported on it and the way it looked. It looked like Marquez was demanding the tire.
Yes. Well, I know.
Where's your
Lowe's did not make that. That wasn't Lowe's choice.
Where's your team guy saying no? You're going to race this tire.
It might have been the team guy saying, which tire do you feel is better for you? And he said, my guess is Marquez. Marquez said,
I'd be okay with the.
I think the hard.
I'd be okay with the hard.
You're not going to. He's double world champion. My guess is his team head's not going to argue with him if he said that's the tire I want.
Well, I think that's a little bit of the problem.
So you got to put it on him. I think you got to put it on him.
You got to come in lap 11 or lap 12. Lap 11 when you should, or lap 12 when you want to. I'm going to come in lap 12. Somebody got to make decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a crapshoot, but it's a crapshoot that Marquez doesn't need to take. That's the thing.
Right.
He doesn't need to take. Now he might have to.
Right
now he's put himself at a big deficit.
He has. He is now he's in that position where he hasn't been. Well, he definitely wasn't last year.
He's 30 points behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's back
now.
there.
He's got to worry about it because he's got it. Well, he's either got to hope that he can make up for that by Rossi not scoring some points some week, or because the likelihood is he's not gonna build up a lot of points over winning races. Because Rossi seems like he's doing well enough when he wins,
right? To get second,
you're going to pick up
wins.
5 points, and if you drop a race, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So
and you got to take the risk. You got to take the risk.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, he needs some help.
Yeah.
And Rossi seems like his drive is better than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, he seems excited to be racing.
Yeah, because he's not following Jorge Lorenzo around like he did the last couple of years in Yamaha. Remember before? So
and he's used to going fast again because that Ducati killed him.
Right,
he didn't know what speed.
But he's probably
like.
wondering how Dovizioso's battling with him.
Yeah, how pissed off are you over Rossi? Where you're saying I went there to win a championship on an Italian bike. And then they give it to that guy.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Rossi followed Casey Stoner, who won a championship on the old Ducati that was crappy.
Yeah.
So this is a whole new bike. So anyway, I don't know. I tell you what, I'm glad Warren gets some profs. I think for recognizing Cal Crutchlow's. Apparently, Hawkeye, me, and we'll talk about this in the power rankings. But Hawkeye, me, and Warren all recognized Crutchlow's involvement. Crutchlow's actually Crutchlow had a that was a very impressive race for him.
But the previous race was pretty. He did well. Was running well.
Yes.
He might not finish great, but they showed him a lot fighting for was it 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th. Here he goes. But you see him. He was moving well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
again on a but we're talking about somebody.
He's on the LCR Honda.
So
it's a satellite
team, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's. Ask Stefan Brattle how impressive that performance by Cal Crutchlow was. Okay.
Yeah, but in the past we've said the LCR Honda could get podiums.
It could, but doesn't.
But doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I guess before we wrap this show up, we should talk a little bit about the pool. Monster Weekend, 100-point pool.
Big weekend.
Nothing like last weekend's Monster Weekend where guys were getting 95 and 91
I want to know
points.
I want to know the people that didn't pick Marquez. I want to tip my hat to them.
The people who didn't pick Marquez are Javier, our English to European translator. He picked Dovizioso for the top scorer in MotoGP.
That's at least points.
That was solid points. And Dave M., former studio guest, and guy who didn't drink enough beer before he ran the marathon, he picked Crutchlow.
Not bad, but again, solid points.
16 points, solid points. The rest of us...
look, hats off to Dave, because picking Crutchlow that's a stretch pick, right?
Yes.
To win a race.
So he did
But a good
that.
points pick.
I actually thought when I was seeing all the picks come in, everybody had Marquez.
Nobody picked Rossi?
And I thought to myself, nobody picked Rossi. I should pick him. And then I said to myself, you know what? He did not do too well here last year. And stuff. And I thought, even if Marquez doesn't win, it's probably going to be 20 points. I can give that up. But apparently I was wrong.
Yeah, apparently you were wrong.
I bounced and played with Dovizioso as a pick for a little bit, but I ended up with Marquez.
I don't think he's a bad. I'll tell you what. One thing you can say,
he's not going to be a bad pick this year.
He's not a bad. He's a good solid points pick, and he doesn't. So far he's not going down. That's
he's got 3 seconds in a row.
That's what kills you. Yeah, that ain't bad, huh?
That ain't bad. That ain't too shabby.
Yeah, that ain't too shabby.
So he's sitting second in the points. He's doing. Right. He's doing this big. But speaking of points, Hawkeye still has the lead.
Right.
And he had a miserable weekend. He only had 56 out of a possible 100 points. Ken, you actually made up 7 points on him. You scored 63.
Very
Top
good.
points getter for the weekend was actually Drew B., who picked everything perfect till you got to Marquez, so he wound up with 75 points.
Wow.
Javier had 74 he had Dovizioso, but he had Rabat, and he pulled the double on Ray. I had Johnny Rea. I was the other guy who pulled the double on World Superbike. Johnny Rea Lowe's, so that put me at 66 points. I gained 10 on Hawkeye, our leader.
Right.
That pulled me up into 3rd place. That's the highest I've ever been in our pool.
Wow, very good.
For you.
And I'm within 10.
You're doomed now.
I'm doomed now.
Good for you. You suck.
I'm within 11 points of the lead. First place to 13th place is only 38 points.
Wow.
So it's pretty tight. You know, we got a lot of guys. There's a couple people tied in there. I'll just throw our top 5. Hawkeye's in first, Kristen, me, then Matt B, then Olaf.
Kristen had a bad weekend too, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She only got 52 points. She had Sykes and Lowe's and Marquez.
Right.
How many points did I get?
Warren, where are you? Warren, you actually took a tumble this week down from 5th place, I believe you were in. You only have 52 points too. Worst weekend was the first year's champion Joshua, who had 35.
Ooh.
He went Sykes, Davies, Rabat, Marquez.
Wow.
So Rabat didn't get 4th. I screwed that up when we were talking about it.
I didn't think he did.
He scored 4 points.
Right, he's 12th, right?
He was 12th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I screwed that up because I remember when I was doing the pool 4-4, and I was thinking 4th, and I was like, oh, so yeah, wrecked a lot of podium streaks. There was Hawkeye was on an 8 podium streak, and Chris W was on a 9 podium streak, and they just got kind of pounded this week because everybody went with Marquez.
Now they get a break.
And then we get a 2-week break, and then we're going to start rotating every other week. So we don't have another double weekend until then, I believe.
The very end.
October.
Which is like the end for World Superbike, right? Very
November,
close to the end.
I think October.
Which is close to the very end of World Superbike.
Yeah, so it's very close to the end. And that wraps it up. We are going to do a couple extra videos tonight, and we'll post them up during the week with our Supercross power rankings, and we're going to do our MotoGP power rankings since they race first, and then next week we'll do Supercross again and World Superbike. So stay tuned into that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go check us. If you're listening on the podcast, go check us out on YouTube because we need the views. And if you don't do that, I'm going to send naked pictures of Durka's neighbor's cousin's wife or something like that. And there you go.
Why don't you just say we'll do the show naked? That'll turn people away.
No, because then they won't go to the show. That's how we're going to do it.
We'll film it and we'll mail it to your house. We won't let you know it's coming.
Right.
It'll say Publishers Clearinghouse on it.
It'll be like surprise prison
We'll
sex.
send the Publishers Clearinghouse prize patrol to you with a picture of us naked.
Yeah, that'd be
That'll
awesome.
scar you for life.
There you go. That's how it's going to roll.